Okay, so today in our lesson we're going to work on drawing trend lines and practicing, using those trend lines to make predictions, okay? And it's really extremely important that we draw a trend line. And I know for those of you at home on the computer, it's going to be a little bit harder. And so what I might do is, I think I'm going to, all the problems that are in your Canvas assignment, I'm going to also put on paper for you so that you can print them and practice drawing them on Canvas. You can also put them on your Google Doc and use the drawing tools in Google Drive. Okay, so remember we talked about when we draw a trend line, and let me tell you that another name for a trend line is also a line of best fit. Okay, so remember we talked about we want to draw it through the middle of the data, and we want an equal amount of points above and below the line. Okay, so we're going to really focus on drawing our trend lines right now and using them to predict. So question A says, describe the association. Well, we should be recognizing now that this is a negative association. As the age goes up, the activity goes down. Now we're making a prediction. Now to make a prediction, we want to draw a trend line. Now, I'm not perfect, but if I'm going to draw this trend line, I'm probably going to draw it about right here. Okay? And so now what we're going to do is we're going to use our trend line to make a prediction about the activity for someone who is 50 years old. So let's look at our scale. So this is, each line is counting by fives, and so this would be 50 right here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to read up to our trend line and see what is the physical activity. And so it's about 2 hours per day. And so that's what we use that trend line for, is to then make a prediction. Okay? Is there any relationship between the number of positive responses and the number of hours the product was sold? And the answer is yes. What kind of relationship are we seeing? We are seeing a negative relationship. As the hours go up, the responses go down. And so let's talk again about how to draw a trend line. These points are a little bit more spread out. So, yikes, where are we going to draw this? Maybe about right here. Remember, we want to try to have an equal amount of points above it as we do below it. I maybe could have shifted it down a tiny bit more, but that would be a good trend line. So maybe I wanted to predict, how many hours it was, how many responses when we were right here. And so I would just read up to my trend line and then read across, and it would give me my answer. Okay, let's look at the next one. It says the scatter plot shows the profit earned by gardening. Use the trend line to make a conjecture, a prediction about the profit earned in millions by the store in 2013. So this is nice. It already has drawn a trend line for us. So that kind of gives you an idea of what they should look like. We are probably going to need to extend that trend line, okay, because 2013 is right here. And so I'm going to read up, and it looks like it's about 220 million. Now we're going to have to look at our answer choices. Which one is closer to that? The answer would be A. Okay, number 4, nice. They already have the trend line for us. We're making a prediction about the height of a baby who is 12 months old. Okay, so here is 12 months. We're going to read up to our graph, read across, and that looks like that's about 22 and a half, centimeters? Wow, that's weird. 22 and a half centimeters would be the height of a baby who is 12 months. So you see how we're just using that line, reading up, matching it up. Okay, now this one doesn't have a trend line. Scatterplot shows how many books were sold during the first days. If a relationship exists, what kind of relationship exists? This is definitely a negative trend. Again, everything is going down. Make a prediction about the number of books that will be sold on the 17th day. Okay, so let's get a good trend line going here. We want it to be through the middle of the data. I'm going to think that's probably a pretty good trend line. Okay, the 17th day is right here, so I'm going to read up. And I'm going to read over. It's about 16. So then I need to look at my answer choices and see which one is close enough. And that would be 17 books. So super easy, super important that we're drawing that trend line. You cannot make the prediction without drawing that trend line. Okay?